all the motions I'll show really target the rotator cuff, which mostly the external rotators, the internal rotators are a lot stronger, so I don't put as much emphasis on those. But the idea is that you are taking those muscles that not only rotate your arm, but also stabilize your shoulder to fatigue before you do your big motion lifts like your bench press or your overhead press. So I like to start with the shoulder down low at your side. That's the most comfortable position for most people, where there's less stress on the rotator cuff. I always keep the band in line with my hand whenever it's at 90 degrees at my shoulder and my elbow. And then just starting with these light rotations with your shoulders staying down, back, and contracted. I'll go here, not for a certain number of reps, but I go until the muscles start to feel fatigued.
And how heavy is that band?
Medium.
Medium.
It's not super light, you're not just like whipping it around.
Yeah.
If you go slow, you feel the muscles working, but there's no pain as I'm doing the motion. That's what I like to go for. But you can vary the speed and you can vary the intensity of how far you go with the range of motion. So I do some really slow controlled motions. Then I also get into some of these quicker motions. A lot of people have a lot of thoughts about being really restricted with just doing, with keeping your elbow locked in as you go. I'm okay with a little bit of motion too. So that way you're engaging the rear delt, you know, the parascapular muscles too. And it's not very many times in your life you just have to stay right here and rotate. So you can add in all the other muscles that do the same activities. So after I get there and I'm pretty fatigued, I feel that burn on the outside of my shoulder.
About how long does that take?
Usually like 20 to 30 seconds if you're being really, really intent on what you're doing and getting a good squeeze in that muscle. But I don't stop there. I instantly go into a little bit of elevation with the elbow. You get up into those more testing ranges for the rotator cuff, still keeping everything with good form. You can do the slow motions or you can do the fast, more plyometric type activities too. Once that's comfortable, you can come up to 90 degrees, pulling straight back. This is getting to the most intense pull on the rotator cuff. And then you can actually go above 92, almost like a baseball pitching position. And by now, I mean, those muscles are burning, they're screaming at me. I can feel them going.
So total time, what does this take you?
Just for that first little warm up, probably like 60 to 90 seconds. But I'll use that as my precursor to my warm up. So if I was going to do a bench press, I would do, you know, like the bar only, go for maybe 20, 25 reps to get into that motion, and I'd come back to this. So it's not just a one time, do this, hop into the lift. I'll superset my lift and my warm up with this for like 4 or 5 rounds.
And so you would do this how many times supersetting?
Probably 4 or 5.
Oh, I see.
But that's just the rotations. I also like to do like low pulls where you're really retracting that shoulder blade. You can come out to a T position. You can have your thumb up like a Y, and that gets more of the muscles surrounding your scapula engaged too. But overall, I mean, you go through this whole motion here, all the way up, and then here, you know, going for 15, 20 seconds of each of those. You get your whole shoulder girdle ready to go before you go and push.
And then you would light lift and come back to this?
I would add weight each time with my main lift until I get up to like a good working set. And then I usually discontinue the band. But by then, you're already sweating, you're pumped up, you feel the swollenness in your shoulder, and the tone and the stability, in my personal opinion, is better. Left-sided, it was deep inside the shoulder, almost on the top, but deep, you can't touch it.
And you had
inside
that
the shoulder
time?
joint. Had it pretty much every time I pressed.
For how many years?
Probably close to a year. It was episodic, so it was on and off. It wasn't every single time I lifted, but it was consistent enough to be aggravating.
Did you have an injury there?
Not on that shoulder, no.
So there was no injury?
Nope, nothing predisposing.
And so after you started doing this, did it get better?
It got better. I could make in-session changes, like every time I would work out, but then eventually I got to the point where I don't have to do this and I can press without pain.
And so how often do you get this deep shoulder pain now?
Anymore, I don't, but I do this routine to keep it from happening.
And how often do you lift?
Probably 3, 4, 5 times a week,
For how
depending on the
many
week.
years?
Since early high school.
And how long have you been doing this?
Probably 1.5 years, 2 years.
So in a year and a half, 2 years, you haven't had shoulder pain?
Nope.
Okay, show us what you.